Be June already.
Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday. It's time for our spiritual light conversation. And today's topic is Law of Progress Guides Humanity. It's a good topic, good understanding um, what's happening today to us, and we keep wondering. We are seeing all those things, and are we evolving? Are we progressing? Are we reaching some point? All these questions we try to address today, and I hope you enjoy and stay with us. So, good evening, Ms. Gibbons. How are you, my dear?
Hello, good evening. I'm very well, and I hope everyone is well also. And, it's always wonderful to be here with everyone. Talking about spiritism, because it's a wonderful topic and there is so much to learn. And it seems that the more you learn, the less you know, because there's always so much more to that you can learn from it. And so hope everyone is well, and pray God that things are getting better in the south of Brazil, and more peace coming towards us, because those times that we are living in is very, very hard, and many people are suffering a lot. So our prayers to everyone, to them. And if you're watching us, being with us today, join in, give your opinion, ask questions. It's always welcome. So, boa tarde, bom dia a todos que estão nos assistindo, boa noite, que seja. Bem-vindos mais uma vez para estudar um outro capítulo sobre Espiritismo, e que tenha a paz de Jesus e seja sobre todos nós. Thank you.
Okay, good. Bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir, Stevan. Bonsoir, Silvia. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Also sharing with Silvia, very happy to be here again with you tonight, and to talk about this law of progress. No? Are we really progressing? Where are we going to as a humanity? Is there a sustainable future for the humanity? This is what we will try to understand a little bit better tonight during this live, according to the Spiritist body of knowledge and view based on the spiritualist paradigm.
Good. No, good, good. Always good. So let me go to our video today. Let me share my screen. It's here. Okay.
If we attach ourselves to impermanent things, as the Buddha used to say, we are sure to be let down, which is in complete agreement with what Jesus says when he says, store your treasures in heaven. So we can clearly see that both lines of thinking relate to the fact that our importance should not be placed primarily on our physical world, that if we are to care for things in the physical world as the primordial thing, we are going to be let down, because these things are going to disappear. The table's going to break, your car is going to go into the shop, your house might fall down and be dilapidated. But if you pay attention to things of the spirit, which are permanent things, then we're never going to be let down. We are going to be able to not only achieve nirvana of happiness and be happy by storing your treasures in heaven at the same time. So I love we can see the similarities between different lines of thinking if we only look too closely, which is something we could all do more and that we are really happy to do in Spiritism in general as we learn to take the best of every philosophy and build our own treasure chest, our own happiness in general. Stop eating this toxic.
Okay, so I put this video because what's caught my attention it is where are you putting your treasures? In this law of progress, are you sharing your treasures or are you keep saving your pot, hiding from everybody, just looking after yourself, do not looking to your brothers and your sisters? How you doing it? How we can evaluate if we are progressing or not? Of course, if you look back to the history, we are evolving. Some years ago, we were riding horses. Now we have cars with, I don't know, thousands of horses. Uh, and also, when Henry Ford approached the bank asking to borrow money to finance his cars, he said, no, no way, horses. Now we have cars, electric cars. If we look to the science, people used to die because of simple flu. Today we have vaccine for that. Today we know we need to take vitamin C, vitamin D, blah 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 blah, in order to keep our immune system up. So for this viewpoint, we are progressing. But we had wars, a lot of wars, especially here in Europe. Then we had the World War I, World War II, the recent episode, the war we have now in Ukraine, now in Israel, the constant wars we do have in the African continent. For years, those guys are fighting against each other. And the question is, from this point of view, are we evolving? Do you think we are evolving? We are progressing? And if we are progressing, how this law of progress is guiding humanity? Okay, so as always, let's start with Charles. Your 5 cents, please. 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, we must distinguish two kinds of progress. The first progress you mentioned, Stevan, is the technological and material progress, and it has been amazing already at the time of Kardec, and much more amazing now. You see, we are connected here. You sitting in Ireland, Silvia sitting in UK, I'm sitting in France, live, with colors, everything, with people assisting us all around the world in real time or almost. So we have IA, we have so many progress, particularly this last year, it accelerated a lot. So this is, on this point of view, really the progress is amazing. And it is continuing. Now we are somehow hitting some limits. The limits is the resources of our planet. I mentioned it already in the past lives. And this is now, how to say, a threat. It's we cannot have continuous growth with limited resources on the earth. There is something wrong in the current economical models. Nevertheless, I think the intelligence and the technological progress has been so big that yet we will find new technologies which are safer, which are more respectful for the environment, and so on. So the progress will never stop and it will continue. And the Spiritist body of knowledge is encouraging this progress. It's absolutely not against it. It is in favor of it. IA, for instance, a lot of people are concerned, what will happen now and so on. Spiritist body of knowledge is absolutely not against IA or this type of progress. The people who are doing repetitive things on a computer, for instance, can be replaced by IA, as Charles Chaplin, the movie where he's tightening always the same bolt on a big machine. He has also been substituted by a robot, and you see, we are still here. So we will, with this progress, use our intelligence for doing other things, new things, and so on. Now, this is now talking about the material progress. I think this one will never stop, even so there is some new scenario now of saying, hey, the resources of our mother, the earth, are limited, so we have to cope with this. Now there is a second progress, which is what we call the moral progress. Okay, and this one is a little bit behind. You talked about wars, you talked about a lot of things, economical exploration, 700 million people starving in different countries around the world. There is a lot of homeless here in Paris or in wherever. There is a lot of progress still to be done. Okay, on the moral side. And that is exactly where we are a little bit late. The intellectual progress went very quickly, but the moral progress is a little bit behind. Nevertheless, the moral progress will follow the intellectual progress, okay? Because too much intellectual progress without moral progress is putting our world in danger. You talked about WW1, WW2. The atomic bomb has been invented. I'm sure if the atomic bomb would have been in the hands of Adolf Hitler, for instance, he would probably have used it, as, by the way, Americans have used it against the Japanese. So this would have been a serious threat for the world. And I think this awareness has helped us to say, hey, guys, stop. We need to think a little bit different. We need to stop with these wars. And this movement has worked quite well in Europe because it's 70 years now since the end of WW2. And yet in Europe, there is at least between France and Germany, or this, which were one against the other during three wars, the three last wars, WW1 and also the 1870 war. It's now 70 years peaceful, with a good relationship, of course, not agreeing on everything. So we have done whatever, taken the measures in order to stop. And this is a sign that the moral progress is coming, because with the intelligence, we are reflecting, we are thinking. A war and a conflict is a lose-lose situation. Everybody is losing a war. Nobody is winning a war, and even taking something by violence is always only temporary. We can see it in Israel right now. Always there is some reaction somewhere, because there is another natural law in parallel of this law of progress, which is the law of liberty. So this law of liberty, you cannot, how to say, stop it, because there will be always some reactions, some revolutions or whatever. So by reasoning with our intelligence, we see that it is better for everyone. It is the advantage, it's a win-win solution instead of a lose-lose solution to stay in peace, lose-lose solution being the war. So this shows that uh, when we understand through our intelligence good and evil, then we can choose between the two. What do we want? Uh, and a second aspect, which is very fundamental, that is still delaying a little bit this taking of conscience, is the paradigm. And this was exactly the subject of the video, isn't it, of our Daniel, of our friend Daniel Assisi. We need, what do we think? Where are the values? Where do we put our values? Where do we put our treasures? In the material things or in the spiritual things? Material things, we know perfectly that the day we will go away from here and go back to the spiritual world, the day we will die, which will come for sure, rather later than sooner, but it can be in 5 minutes or tomorrow. Nobody knows. Everything which is material we live here. So the values which are lasting for the which are immortal, which are eternal, are the values of the spirit. And with this paradigm, the spiritualist paradigm, we using our intelligence, we understand even much better where our interest is and where the interest of the humanity is. It is in the progress, not only the material progress, but also the moral progress, that the people on earth can live in peace, in good brothership, fraternity, nobody lacking essential things to live. And it is just a question of mindset, understanding where is our real interest. Our real interest is really in this, in following this moral evolution that will bring this peace on the earth and that will help our planet to transition from to the world of regeneration, where we will have a better balance between good and evil. And this will be really in the interest of everyone. And I repeat, it's the only sustainable future here on Earth. And the spirits are very clear. Sure, we will go that way. Sure, we are progressing. These reactions we had after WW2, for instance, with the humanist philosophy has almost disappeared. And some negative philosophies have appeared that mankind is essentially wrong or is only pushed by material things and so on. No, we are here with the spiritist body of knowledge to show that it is not the case. This is the case when you have the materialistic point of view, but the spiritualistic point of view gives us a much, much wider and brighter and more positive, full of hope future.
Very well said, my friend. Let's divide and conquer. Let's put it in orders and see by each point of view. I like this. Also, Robbie Brown, he said to us, progress is occurring, but appears to be slowly. Moral evolution requires great effort on an individual level, let alone on a societal level. Good, my friend. Thank you, Robbie, for your inputs. I agree 100%. And you, Miss Gibbons, how is the evolution, the progress in the UK?
It's like everywhere else in this planet at the moment, isn't it?
Mhm.
I think some of the points that Charles made are very important, because I feel that sometimes it's a tendency that we have to see what is worse always, And yesterday, actually, I was talking to some friends of mine, and they were just pointing out something. We were talking about some of the situation that's happening now. And I think that humanity seems to be at their best when things are worse, you know. And it seems very strange, but, if you see the situation now in the south of Brazil, where whole cities being inundated, the loss of life must be very, very large. And now the waters are subsiding, people are beginning to go back. And, I know at least 2, 3 people who have families who lost everything, absolutely everything. Their houses were completely destroyed by the flooding. But there is a lot of help, and there's a lot of support, a lot of people joining in to send clothes and money and food, and companies are producing, giving them special water because they don't have anything. I think I can remember the name of the company, but I think they usually do beers. They produce beers, but they're actually using the water to give to the people there. So there is a lot of help and support, and we see this all the time. Whenever there is a campaign, because there was a tsunami, and in Asia and a lot of other places, people seem to come and want to help. And yet, when we seem to be in peace, then we have this news of wars and destruction. And, I think there is a lot of darkness in our planet at the moment. I think there are many forces now, I think, physically, of incarnate people being really spurred on by a lot of spirits that wants this planet to remain the same and go back to what it was. And we know that the law of progress is like the sea, is unstoppable. It is God's will that mankind will progress, and it will progress no matter what mankind or some of people within humanity want to hold back progress. And I think that sometimes I wonder, why am I living at this time? Why should I be here? But there must be something that I can do. I cannot change the world. I cannot bring peace to places, but I can pray. At least that I have. And I can send positive thoughts, because I personally feel that we are, what the Spirit teaches us, that we are in the threshold now of this transformation of a planet from a world of atonement to a world of regeneration. And I think a lot of the problems that we are seeing now, not only the natural disasters, and especially the stupid wars that are going on. And you said, there are so many wars in Africa that we don't even know the names. Yesterday I read something about Nigeria, because they're fighting against the Christians. And, it's all these ridiculous things that are going on. And, you're talking about the many wars that are going on at the moment, and you didn't mention Yemen, which has been going on now for about 7-8 years, and the destruction of the beautiful place, is being terrible, and people are suffering there quite a lot, but it doesn't seem to be make news, because it's just like the same people killing each other. So nobody seems to care for the refugees, for the people who are dying. But other wars seem to be cause more the attention of the public. You don't see anybody marching in the streets of London or Paris or New York or whatever it is, fighting for the poor people in Yemen. But they've been going on now for quite a long time. The pain and the suffering there and the misery of the people. And, when we look at all those things, the natural disasters and things, we think, it's so easy to become quite despondent and think, oh my God, God has abandoned us. And look how horrible things are. But on the other hand, there are good things. First of all, God never abandoned us, because He is a guide and He's a Father. and he's always there. Also, wars and disasters are not God's fault. Those are things that happen to happen. Wars, who, are made by man himself. Some of them wanted to hold history back because they wanted to go back to the past when they felt that they were more important, whatever it is. But on the other hand, we have this progress that is going. It's a terrible thing, like we had COVID. Now, what, 3 years, 4 years ago now? 3 years ago, isn't it, that more or less start ending, although they're still going on. A few people have known them die of COVID. But when we think about what it could have been, if you think about the Spanish flu, in the beginning of the 20th century, just after the First World War, there are millions of people died, and many people died of COVID, but could be a lot worse. But, they came together and they developed some vaccines. I know there are a lot of people talking about against the vaccines, the consequences of had for some people. There have been difficulties, but I think for the majority of us, it was a blessing to have that vaccine, because a lot more people could have died. So there is a kind of progress. Medicine is progressing. We have now better treatments. We know all about hygiene, and a lot of operations now are possible that, maybe even 20, 30 years ago was not. I remember when I was a child, someone had cancer. It meant they were going to die very quickly. Nowadays, people get well, they have operation, they have a treatment, and they survive, and they have normal lives for years and years and years. That's a very big progress. And I feel that one of the things is for us to hold on to what is good, what's positive. Yes, there is a lot of bad in the world, but that's consequence of this transformation that our planet's going through. I don't know how you feel about it. I think because the transformation has been going on now for maybe 200-300 years. When you think about all the change, the great philosophers of France and the new ideas that they brought, after a lot of oppression by the church and the kings and everything, and they just transformed the ideas of mankind. And science now as well, because it's developing so fast. And amazing as it is, the development of science now means that a lot of it is so theoretical and is becoming almost like in the realm of ideas rather than, having to prove empirically what is happening. And they're coming together with the idea of a religion, of not this kind of religion, go to church and all this rituals, but the kind of religiosity, the spirituality that we have within us, they are coming together in the same road. So even though there is a lot of bad things, very unhappy, desperate things happening, but there are also a lot of good things happening. And I feel personally that there are a lot more good people in this world than there is bad, because if it was the other way around, we wouldn't be able to survive it, And there is good things, people caring, development of science. We live a lot better than we lived before. I think Charles pointed out as well that we are in 3 different countries. And we are sitting together, talking as if we are in the same sitting room, and of course, all the people who may join us and are with us as well. They may be in very different places, very different countries, and we are all together as if we are sitting, as I said, in the same room together. So there is lots of wonderful things happening as well, and I think we need to be positive, because this transformation, and it's part, I think, all these conflicts and things are part of because we know by the teachings of the spirits that quite a few people are having their last opportunity of reincarnating on Earth as Earth is going to progress, they'll be reincarnating on the planets if they keep fighting and stopping the progress of the majority, like happened before, and it still happened many times. And that's why we're seeing so many things so bad, so concentrated at the same time. But I feel that this is also a change for good, for humanity to progress. And no matter what they do, trying to stop it, it's impossible. It's one of the laws of nature, it's the laws of God, that we are going to progress and no one can hold it back. So even though the news are ever more desperate sometimes, but I still feel that we are progressing, it's just pushing through. And we who have a little understanding, we need to pray to be more positive, to have, yes, things are bad, but they can be better. I can make the world better where I am, because I cannot go and tell people to stop fighting, but I can send them prayers, and I can make the people that live around me, that crosses my path, to make a better environment there. So if each one of us are able to create a little focus of light and peace, it will grow and it will reach, the world as such. So I think it's positive. And as I said, that's what the Spirit teaches us. The law of progress is happening. It will happen. And until we will become more enlightened and live together, as brothers and sisters. So I don't know if I answered the question, but it's that's how I feel.
Great. Yeah. I I understand both points. I agree with both points, to be honest. Good evening, Lou. Have a good. It's good to have you here, my dear. And what's our role in all of these? What's uh what what we need to contribute? I say now, I say as an individual, uh, in order to not to accelerate, but to make sure we are walking towards the right path, because the progress is going to happen. If you like or if you don't like, progress is going to happen. That's it. It's like a train movement, this coming, and if you are ready, we're going to take the train. If you're not ready, we're going to be left behind. What we need to do in order to get on this train once it arrives, Charles?
Very simple, Steven, because material progress is going very quick and is even in advance. But what are the biggest obstacles to the moral progress?
Pride,
And
self.
the spirits are repeating and repeating and repeating it. It is pride and selfishness. Okay, these are the biggest obstacles to the moral progress. Material progress is running and sometimes even pushing for more pride and more selfishness, because the more the people have, the more they are selfish. They don't want to share with others and so on. There are exceptions, of course, some others which having a lot are also sharing. But this is what we at an individual level have to do to foster the progress. To fight, do everything we can to reduce or to eliminate this selfishness and this pride which is in us. Look what are the reasons of the conflicts. It's always authority against liberty, authority against freedom. I want my system, my conception of the world to prevail in the world. So I don't want the people from the neighbor country to have some liberty and to think different. I want to impose my way of thinking. So you see, it's typically selfishness and pride, isn't it? Huh?
Yeah.
Or this land is mine. I don't want you in my land. Huh? This is exactly what's happening in Israel and Palestine right now. All the wars, when you see the gangs in Haiti, nobody talked about the gangs in Haiti, in order to dominate, to control, to become richer and so on, typically selfishness and pride. So this is what we have heavily to fight against on ourselves first, and then leading by example, because how to say it, we talked already about spiritual intelligence, isn't it? This is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what I talked at the beginning, isn't it? So the intelligence is pushing the intellectual evolution, is leading with time. It takes time, but it's leading to moral evolution. And spiritual intelligence is an excellent example of that. When you read the core values of spiritual intelligence, self-awareness. We have the self-awareness that we are selfish and pride, that if we are selfish towards the others, others may be selfish towards us, and we are again in a lose-lose situation. The win-win situation is we share everything, we are spontaneous, we have this bigger vision, values-led, we are celebrating the diversity as a richness and not as fighting against the differences. We are using we make positive use of adversity. That Silvia is also giving example with COVID, when you have these big trials, is where really a lot of people are thinking and intellectually leading to this moral progress. You see all the people uh, on the windows every night in order to be very grateful and thankful for the people who are working the hospitals, taking risk of their own life in order to help the others. And so the move is here. It's just a question not to be blind, to perceive it. And the biggest contribution that Spiritist body of knowledge brings to the progress is to destroy the materialist paradigm, not with violence, of course, but with arguments. Because the origin of the selfishness is the law of conservation. We may take about this another time also. We are always afraid not having enough for us. You see the animals which are fighting for food or whatever, uh, they are fighting not because they are selfish, they are fighting because of the law of conservation. But we are not animals anymore. We need to use our intelligence to understand that the win-win solution is to share, is to really, everyone has what he needs, is joining our efforts, is fostering this spiritual intelligence in order to progress, and knowing also that anyhow everything again destroy materialism, because what material things are temporarily. The things which are long lasting is the spiritual values, and this is really once we understood this, we can think about is it really a good deal for me to be so selfish? Because I will have more advantages now, and then I will have a bad conscience. And this bad conscience may take me for years, ages, lives and lives to repair all the damages I have caused because of my excessive selfishness, isn't it? So when you make this reasoning, you understand immediately that your advantage is to fight strongly against this selfishness and this pride, and to collaborate and to foster this spiritual intelligence. So that is what we can do at our individual level, leading by example and not only by blah blah.
Yeah, yeah, true. Adieu, Silvia.
Yes, I'm here.
What's
Well,
what's your advice?
well,
What's
I wish I,
from
I
your
wish I wish I had enough wisdom to advise, but I just um, I try as much as anybody else because I don't know very much. But I think, it's interesting because sometimes you read things or you know things. Like this week, I found out someone that I know very well. It's a very good friend of mine. A cousin of her was one of the people who got nearly killed in October 7. And they were shot and everything, and she only survived because she was hiding underneath the dead. And it was, and people celebrating and dancing and taking pictures of the dead and all that kind of thing. She was completely traumatized, and but she was able to survive with a friend, and the other friend died. um, and if you sometimes you have that sense of powerlessness, that so much things can happen in the world and is bad. And I thought, oh God, please, guide me, because I don't want to have any feelings of hatred against anyone, because I suppose the people who do the bad things, the day will come in which they will be awakened to what they've done, and the suffering, it will be enough for them without having my own thing, because it doesn't help me anyway. And I just opened the gospel, I opened my gospel according to Spiritism. I wanted to read that before I went to the meeting. And the message, I opened on the page, love your enemies, do good to those who abuse you and use you, because if you love only those who love you, what is the difference, and that I thought, oh my God, yes, that you never, I always found that the gospel never fails to give me an answer when I need it. And when you read that, you think, yes, I have to understand this. You have to overcome certain things, and not that you're going to love the people who do that, but not wish them any harm and everything. And I think that's one of the things that Spiritism does. It gives you an opportunity to think differently. You're guided by certain things, because hatred, anger, and desire for vengeance is only consumes ourselves, not the person who doing. And then each one will answer for what they do. So we need to, in a way, think positive and create, as I said before, I feel very strongly about this. At least at the place where I am, with the people that I am with, be it at work, be it at home with friends, or people just cross your path in your daily lives. You try to be as pleasant as you can, as kind as you can, as understanding as you can, to create a focus of peace and light in that place where you are, because this is contagious. I think goodness will it passes on. Someone is being treated with kindness, with care, that you cross the street, sometimes people look at you, I don't know, people sometimes are worried, and I just smile at them, and 99.9% they always will smile back, always. You know, if you smile at someone, they will always smile back. You know, every time that some don't, but most people do. And it's just that moment, you know, that makes maybe a change in that person. If they were thinking something really negative, if they were having a lot of problems in their lives, it hasn't solved the problem, but it's for a moment, you know, just an act of a smile, or look at someone and, you know, say a kind word. It can change the whole process for that person or what's happening to them. And I think if we start doing this, we can, you know, other people will feel inspired. They will treat somebody else well because they were treated well. They feel that, you know, and it goes, and we created this level of peace. I think this nightmare that's going on in our world now, I find that there is a lot of people who want to hold on to the past and want to take the world back to what it was 800 years ago. And, you know, but we've progressed, and the law of progress does not stop. It's God's will, it's the law of nature that it will happen whether we like it or not. And there are people who are more advanced. I mean, you see children now, babies being born, you know, sometimes I see things in babies in YouTube, people put things of their babies, and it's ridiculous. The other day I saw this little baby, must be a year old, and the dad was singing, and this baby was singing with the dad, but you could see it was just a little, you know, baby. And because they seem to be more advanced than we were before, I think, you know, when we were kids, it was moronic for quite a long time. And you find all these little babies now, you know, they talk with their eyes and they actually talk as well. So I think that all these wonderful spirits are coming back into this earth to lead us to move on. So our part at the moment is to create as much peace as we can wherever we are, so we can maybe help those spirits that are coming back and helping progress, because our planet is changing. Things are going to be different. But, you know, always, whenever there is a lot of change, there is always a lot of suffering. And it's part of the process as well, because you know, when we go through the difficult times is when we learn empathy, when we learn to let go of things. So when we reincarnate on this earth again, we'll be in a different level, in a more progressive level. And I think this will happen. So we can, you know, I don't have any advice. I try to do this for myself, to see things without getting very angry about it. And to try to create as much peace and light and love around where I am, and pray and send prayers, you know, and positive thoughts to these areas of our planet where there is total darkness. But having said that, we know, as a spiritist, we know that the spirits of light are working there very, very hard. We know that. I mean, if you read Andre Luis, when he talks about the wars and everything that was going on, the number of spirits that were coming and working and helping. So even though it seems to be dark, there is a lot of love and light there in helping the people, isn't it? So we can helps us also not to be sad and desperate or despondent. And just briefly to finish, but I think in the book Nosso Lar, the first book of the collection of André Luiz and Chico Xavier, he talks about the spirits came to, you know, they're talking about the war. Europe was at war, and they came to do some work in England. I don't know if you remember that part of the book. And they were flying over Bristol, and there was total darkness because they were being bombed. You know, cities like Bristol and Liverpool, they took the brunt of a lot of the bombing. and they were saying, they were being bombed, and there was a terrible thing, and the darkness, because everything was dark anyway. They kept the city dark, but they could see this flash of light reach out to. I don't know if you remember that they saw this flash of light reach out into to the highest levels of the sky or something, and they went there, and it was a church where people were hiding, protecting themselves from the bombs in the cellar of this church in Bristol, and they were all praying, and there all those people together praying that church formed this huge light that they could be seeing from miles away. And of course they went there to rest as well, because it was quite hard for the spirits to be in that ambient. So I think, always when I think about certain situations, that's what I remember. If you pray, you can create some light that can be used by those spirits that are helping those areas of darkness. So I find that something that consoles me, gives me strength.
Yeah,
To
wonderful.
share that with people.
Again, we go back and we rely on each other. Doesn't matter in which stage of evolution, in which stage of progress we are, we rely on each other. We rely on how we how we treat each other, how we look after each other, how we make the relationship between each other. So we need to learn that is no difference, no boundaries, no differences by religion, no difference by color of the skin, no difference by the color of the hair, no difference by the sexual option, no difference by if you have a bachelor's degree, if you don't have a bachelor's degree, at the end, it doesn't matter. We are all incarnated beings
Mm.
or spirits, each one with your own mission, but each one with our collective mission as well. And sometimes we are very good in dealing with you with our own mission, but we are not good in trying to resolve, trying to fix this collective mission. I think that's the my takeaway from today.
Yes, there
So,
is another important point here, which is why do we incarnate? What's the purpose of life? Is to progress, isn't it? To progress intellectually, but also morally. It's the main. That's why we are here. Selfishness and pride are exactly hindering this progress, hindering this main mission of our life.
yeah.
So it's so obvious, but the things which are sometimes so obvious or so simple are sometimes the most difficult to understand and to put in practice. And that's one of them. And really, okay, let's go for this win-win solution. Let's, as Gilson was writing, do unto the other what we would like the other to do unto us. And this has been told to us more than 2,000 years ago now. Okay,
Mhm.
so
And it's still valid.
imagine the world where the majority of the people will be doing to the other what they would like the other to do unto them. In compare it with the world we have today, where to have to be careful that not to be stolen or not to be hit or whatsoever, the other one willing to take your job or this or that. Huh? Compare both worlds. What is a world in which you would like to live? The first one, where everyone will be benevolent, indulgent, with fraternity, to love one another, and so on. It's much, much better to live in such a world. So, what are we waiting for once more? Let's do it. Let's. I know it's not easy. It's not from one day to the other. To get rid of selfishness is not easy. It starts with education with the children. That's when you have to detect the early signs and fight against it. Explaining already to the child that his interest is not to be selfish. If the child does not share his toy with the other child will also not share their toys with him. So he will stay alone and not be able to play with the other ones. The children can understand it quite easily, and these lessons will then help them during their whole life in this mission to get rid of this selfishness and pride.
Yeah. Ms. Gibbons, your final message.
I was just thinking what Charles was saying. Remind me that story of the dinner party. If you remember that everybody was given a huge spoon to eat and they couldn't feed themselves, and they tried and they were doing one movement and going up they just couldn't, because the spoon was so big. And then someone had the idea. I said, okay, then, my spoon can reach you, so I can feed you. So they were feeding each other, and they were able to eat. Everybody, they had to cooperate. I don't know if you remember that story, but I think that's, at the moment we seem to be in that dinner party trying to feed it, just ourselves with this big spoon, and we needed to cooperate with other people. But can I read something very briefly here from Emmanuel?
Sure, yeah.
That this Emmanuel, who was in talking about culture and the development of mankind and everything. He is talking. They asked the question to him: can rationalism guarantee a line of evolution on Earth? So he gets no, but he comes to the point where he says, reason is an essential base, but only the sentiment creates and edifies. It's for this reason that all the conquests of humanity will never be able to disappear in the process, in the evolutionary process of humanity. And I think that's very interesting because, and the discussion, I think, about artificial intelligence is very much afraid. People are afraid that the machines will take over the world. But what Emmanuel is saying here, in this progress and in this development, only the sentiments who creates and edifies, and they can never disappear from the evolutionary process of mankind. So this can help us, but mankind cannot be taken over. We always be the ones who will create the ideas and create love. Although, of course, we can use, I think Charles mentioned something about the atom bomb. Sometimes we can use science and the discoveries that would be really productive and helpful for humanity. Transform them into weapons. But this will change as well, isn't it? This will change because part of the progress of humanity is to be brothers and sisters as we are, because we are children of God. So that's fine.
Yeah. Well,
Gosh, 10 o'clock already.
like Charlie said, ready or not, it will come.
It will come. Everything must pass, and they will.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Comment from Gilson. Good evening. Lovely topic. We indeed can and have to always try to be helpful and friendly to the others, considering everybody is struggling to move on in this present material life. Thank you, Gilson. Thank you. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, next Wednesday, 5th of June, we will talk about emancipation of the soul. It's a wonderful topic from the Spirit's book. So I invite everyone to join us next week to, to discuss this topic with us. Spirit James X 2024 is about right the corner. So 29 and 30 of June in Oxford. So a lot of amazing people, including Charles, will be having will be talking to the event. So the tickets are already available on Eventbrite, or if you have any question, email our friends on Kardec on office@kardec.org.uk. That's the second day. We will also have uh, Allan Kardec Film Festival. And this Sunday, we have one more topic about Camille Flammarion, as this year is dedicated to him. So don't miss at 7 p.m. We will have our next episode regarding Camille Flammarion. Well, don't forget to read our Spiritism magazine in English, available on spiritismmagazine.org, and also keep keeping watching Kardec Radio on your YouTube, on your Facebook and Instagram. This is it from me today, my friends. I want to say thank you all for your time. Thank you for your enlightenment about this topic. And I'll see you all next week.
God willing.
Merci,
Yes.
Charles.
Let's see.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Have a good week.
Merci. Thank you so much. God bless.